Only the dead have seen the end of war. Plato. The war was over. For 50 long years, the galaxy was lit ablaze as the United Interstellar Alliance and 10-Star Republic clashed with the Sanhaeli Empire and the Telshaki Confederacy. A simple difference of opinion saw hundreds of billions of lives extinguished and entire worlds decimated in the wake of the darkest days in history. The galaxy was in rubble by the time the Republic and Alliance colors flew over the Imperial and Confederate capitals. The denizens of the galaxy are exhausted as they attempt to pick up the scattered pieces of a fragile, normal life. A fool's errand. The near immeasurable volume of death and destruction has scared the galactic population. Those who fought in the war struggle to readjust to civilian life, and quickly turn to organized crime and religious fanaticism, turning their backs on everything they fought for, in exchange for the familiar. Worse still, the defeat of the Empire and Confederacy opened a massive rift in the galactic balance of power that is frequently exploited by organized crime, PMC, or anyone wishing to line their pockets. Combined with the overbearing and often violent resentment of Imperial and Confederate citizens, the occupying forces are twisted into becoming more hostile by the day. The reign of peace has wrought more tragedy than it has solved, as wartime grudges remain the rule of the day. As the news blabbers on about the degradation of the galaxy, the public grows restless as society spins its wheels to nowhere. Its denizens are uncertain and panicked by the apparent lack of progress the war has wrought. Regardless of their wishes, the power struggle that produced death on an unimaginable scale has only created a new power struggle that seemed poised to unravel and shatter what little remained of the galaxy. Chapter 2. Date: November 16th, 2585. 1100 hours. Location: Fort Powell, Mars, UIA. Dutch's fingers curled the seams of his service uniform in an uncomfortable metal chair, an unusual state to find a talented Black Star operations officer. His ribbon-riddled jacket and thoroughly weathered face told the story of a man who had seen the worst of the Great War. He could remember scores of his brothers and sisters in arms thrown into the grinder for their country. And yet there he stood, one of only 100 remaining officers commissioned from West Point in 2572. He would rather relive every terrifying operation than what he had to do now. He sat waiting to enter a board interview with the senior officers of BSO and the TSR's Commando Division for a very promising promotion. To Dutch, there were fewer stars in the galaxy than there were behind those doors. Before his mind could spiral off any further, the door parted and a corporal ushered him into the room. He nervously got out of his chair and straightened his uniform and took a breath. He walked in and noticed the room dominated by one intimidating long table and nothing else. The generals and admirals whispered amongst themselves, making their impressions. It was rather intimidating, until he saw General Christopher Richardson sitting in the center of the table. He was the man who convinced him to become an officer, and the closest thing he had to a father, since his died thousands of light years from home in the Great War. He made it to the center of the room, and faced the officers, narrowly holding back his terror. "Major Joshua Chen, reporting as ordered, sir."
"Major, tell the board about yourself."
"Sir, I've served in BSO for 11 years. Before that, I led a platoon of air assault infantry and was subsequently promoted to the XO of that company. I graduated BSO school in the top 20% of my class."
"Barely, Major. Your instructors said that they practically needed to put a gun to your head to get you in a drop pod."
"I see no tactical advantage in dropping soldiers out of orbital platforms. It's gotten more soldiers killed on landing than any other means of insertion at our disposal."
Your peers and superiors have described you as thick. Have you any response to them?
"I am only as stubborn as the person hellbent on using my entire team to lubricate the chassis of a Sanhaeli armor battalion, ma'am." The entire board turned and whispered amongst themselves. Dutch was worried. He hated waiting for senior officers to make up their minds about what to do next. It was always politics and backhanded deals with general officers. He never understood it, and he never wanted to do it. Everyone stopped snickering as General Richardson cleared his throat.
"You joined the BSO under unusual circumstances. Recount the situation for us."
The date haunted him. June 30th, 2573. The shuttle's engines resonated through the cabin with the incessant thundering howl. He had a window seat to the final stand of Sanhaeli boots on Alliance soil. Alliance brass called it Operation Titanomachy, symbolic But Dutch didn't care much for semantics. This was Mosai Prospect, the planet he was born on, the planet he watched burn as a child before being whisked off to Earth. He lost everything here, and he was going to make the Sanhaeli give every cubic centimeter of the system back to that crying child 16 years ago. The mission he flew out for wasn't exactly the killing blow he wanted. His orders were to take 2 platoons from A Company and secure extraction for a forward recon team. It sounded like simple security, but upon closer examination of the recon team's coordinates, they were 100 kilometers behind enemy lines. Dutch thought it was a miracle they even made it into Sanhaeli territory, let alone make it to the recon team.
This is Omega-7 to any Alliance forces. My team is pinned down. We're low on ammo and need immediate assistance. Over.
Omega-7, this is Alpha-8. We are en route with 2 platoons to secure extraction. Over.
I wish it were that simple, brother. I have a high-priority hack on Sanhaeli systems in progress.
The tone of the conversation changed. This wasn't about protocol anymore. You'll have to scrap your operation, Omega-7. We'll be on your coordinates in 10 mics.
Not gonna happen. This hacker will determine if we're going to win the war or not.
A massive explosion and crack interrupted the transmission as Sanhaeli's screams cut between gunfire.
What the fuck are you doing, LT? Get your ass in gear!
Dutch immediately ordered the pilots of his shuttles to burn at full throttle. That would have their time to the team's coordinates. He couldn't make out much from their transmissions, other than the fact that they were about to be overwhelmed. He knew the size of a forward recon team, 4 to 6 personnel. Terrible odds of survival. They were on the recon coordinates before Dutch had the time to speculate their situation. The side doors flung open just in time to watch Dutch's additional support be engulfed in a fireball. The men under his command swore and panicked, but Dutch never lost sight of his objective. Go, go, go! The shuttle stabilized over the objective, as the ropes deployed and machine guns belched thousands of rounds a minute on Sanhaeli forces. 2 by 2, the platoon slid down as the door gunner kept enemy forces suppressed. Dutch hooked up halfway through the deployment and jumped when the shuttle was struck by plasma ordnance. He was halfway down the rope when he felt the shuttle erratically jerk counterclockwise. Dutch let go of the rope and fell helplessly. Static echoed across the platoon frequency as Sanhaeli fires continued to rain and pulverize the objective in green fire. All Alliance personnel on those coordinates were either dead or about to be dead. Dutch was so overcome with guilt and confusion that he never felt the pain of impact. When Dutch had finished his little brief, the room was in an uproar of whispers. He quivered in his shoes. He got the sense that none of the officers flanking Richardson particularly liked him. Sweat was beginning to form at his hairline when a Paltorian admiral spoke up.
Who is your enemy?
Sir?
Who or what would you hunt to the furthest star in the name of galactic peace?
I still do not understand the question, sir.
In your opinion, what is the greatest threat to galactic peace?
That's not for me to decide, sir. I will hunt whomever our governments deem a threat without quarter.
What the Admiral means to ask is, how well can you adapt? How well can you forgive old wounds and focus on the future?
I've already accepted what I've had to do in the Great War, sir. The future is for far wiser people than I to determine.
Can you forgive the Sanhaeli for killing your parents? Yes or no?
Dutch paused as the officers leaned forward in their chairs. He clenched his hand behind his back and took a breath. It was a very personal question to ask. Yes, sir. The officers bickered for a brief moment as Richardson stopped them all. He'd had enough of this, and the rest of the generals knew it.
Major Dazia Chen, on behalf of the United Interstellar Alliance and the 10-Star Republic, I henceforth appoint you as the executive officer of Hades' team and the ASV Argo.
Dutch snapped to attention, and the two exchanged salutes. Thank you, sir. What is Hades' team, sir? Richardson was about to answer his question when his tablet flashed.
I'm sorry, Major, but I'm afraid I don't have time to answer your questions. You have a target to track down. Report to Hangar 3, a shuttle will take you to Orbital Defense 10. Captain Salfaro and Master Chief Jules Vassoon will brief you when you arrive at the Arco.
A Sanhaeli Master Chief?
Welcome to the future, Major. Things are going to be different.